Hello and welcome to Right from the Kickoff. I'm your host, William Bayliss, and as always, we are joined by Joseph Wright. How's it feel to be COVID free finally, Joe?
Yeah, it's good. That's obviously why we're doing the podcast a bit later than planned. But yeah, COVID free, finally feeling absolutely knackered, but it finally got me, Will. I know you've had it a couple of times as well. But yeah, it finally got me, and I've had it for the last week. But I am free, been back at work for the last 2 days now. So yeah, all good.
Ready to get back at it and talk about the last week. We've got a lot of catching up to do, don't we, Joe?
Yeah, we do. Obviously, we've got World Cup, the World Cup draw that we said that we bring to you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Obviously, relegations, the trial and tribulations of who's going to win the Premier League. So let's get at it.
Let's get that. But before we start, don't forget to hit a like on the video, like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And make sure if you have any comments, anything below, we would love to hear them, wouldn't we, Joe? And make sure you hit that subscribe button as well.
Just a quick one on that. With the subscribe, it only takes a second to hit that subscribe button, so it'll be very, very much appreciated. So if you could on YouTube, hit that subscribe.
Cheers, Joe. So let's get right into it. So there's only one place we can start, really. Well, there's many places we can start, but let's start with the England group. Now, we did say we were going to react to this, obviously slightly late. So, Joe, what do you make of the group? So obviously we've got Iran, USA, and the choice of either Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine. So what did you think of that, Joe?
I would just start off with saying it's quite a good group for England, isn't it? You as England fans, I think you can't really think of a better group than that. I think what I'm happy with as well is you've got obviously USA. They're a good side. We know that they're getting better and better every time you see them in these tournaments. But you'd assume that England would beat America, USA. But having said that, obviously we didn't do it in the 2010 World Cup. But I think we're in a much better place than we were back then, to be fair.
Yeah, this is a different England. This is a more experienced England, shall we say?
Yeah, of course. And then of course we've got Iran. Now, no disrespect to them, but you'd expect us to win that. And even if Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine get through, I know Wales are a good side. So are Scotland, as they proved in the Euros. But again, on paper, you'd expect England to win that match, whoever gets through. So I was very happy with England's draw in particular. I think you can't say that you're disappointed with that, can you? And we actually did a poll, didn't we, on our Instagram, and I think most people agreed with the consensus that it was a good group for England.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and the Winter World Cup, so it'll be an interesting one. We'll be watching that one in the pub, won't we, Joe? Nice and keeping warm.
Yeah, we will. Maybe have a bit of a spiced cider or a mulled wine rather than a pint. But yeah. It'll be good. It'll be different, won't it? We've actually got, if you haven't seen already as well, if you don't mind me saying, well, we've actually seen the times as well for the kickoffs. And actually, I think, other than the first game, which is I think 12 o'clock midday on a Monday, we've actually got pretty lucky because the other two group games are 7 o'clock PMs. So pretty lucky.
People will be back from work then, won't they?
Pretty lucky with the kickoff times. You can get yourself in the pub, get yourself down to the pub, get yourself home from work, wherever you are, you can get and watch at least those two games. So
yeah, 100%. And you spoke about the mulled wine. You see the scenes of England throw around the beer. You wouldn't want mulled wine being thrown around, would you, Joe?
No, you wouldn't.
We would not recommend that.
That'd be slightly warm on the skin, I think.
But let's move on now to the relegation fight. Now, I'm going to hand over to you, Joe, because obviously we just saw that Burnley managed to edge out Everton in a thrilling 3-2 game. Joe, what did you make of it, and what do you make of the relegation fight? Because it's out of Burnley, Watford, or Everton for the one remaining survivor place. So what do you think, Joe?
I'd also put Leeds into that because they've got a couple of games in hand. They've got 30 points, so they're in a much better position. But if Burnley or Everton win sort of one or two of their games in hand, they're only 2 points in front. So Leeds aren't out of it for sure because they've played 31 games. Whereas obviously Burnley and Everton have both played 29. But I think, to be honest, I was watching the game and there was so many times in the game where you were like, as much as it was 3-2, and it was a really exciting exciting game to watch, don't get me wrong, but you weren't in any doubt that you were watching a relegation game. Let me just put it that way. Burnley did what you'd expect them to do, hit it up to the long man. You know, they were literally just smacking it up to the wings, trying to get any sort of foothold in the game. Burnley have no build-up play about them whatsoever. It is very much a long ball strategy. So that's what they were doing. They started off very well, scored from a corner. And I think it was Collins managed to volley it in the 6-yard box with, he side-footed it home. I mean, the defending from Everton was just atrocious throughout. Everton got 2 penalties. I think both of them, I said to you during, because you were at Forest, I was messaging you there. I said the first penalty wasn't. Having a look back at it, it probably was just. But again, the penalties nowadays are very soft. If you go down in the penalty box, you're giving the referee a decision. Everton scored 2 goals from the penalty box with Charlison. And it was 2-1 going into half time. And you're thinking, right, Everton now, you should be going on. They were playing better. But then a couple of mistakes at the back again. Holgate should have cleared. And Rodriguez got a tap in. I think, again, Collins, who's kind of a central defender, kind of got down the wing and managed to cut the ball back. And the defending was awful. And again, Holgate made a mistake. Cornet for Burnley scored the 3rd goal. Again, very much similar. Cut down the byline, got past the fullback, and then just cut it back to Cornet, who tapped it in. Very poor defending. But you had no mistake that it was a relegation game, and you can see exactly why Everton are in massive trouble now, because their defence, like, they can score goals, don't get me wrong, but scoring goals hasn't been their problem really. Their defensive, they lost 5-2 earlier on in the season to Watford, for example. Their defending this season has been shambolic.
Yeah, and do you think that might have tipped the scales for Burnley to stay up and Everton to go down? What do you think, Joe?
I think so. I think it's a weird thing to say, because on paper you would say that Everton have got the better team. This is a team that were fighting for the majority of last season for Europa League places, so they weren't a poor side. But I think kind of the business in the transfer market has kind of come back to hit them. I said from the very start, if you remember, signing Gray, he can be a special player on his day, but he does go missing. And what's happened? He's gone missing. I mean, it's exactly why Leicester got rid of him, and he's kind of showing. And even though he's one of their better players this season, everyone's like, "Oh, Gray's done all right this season." It's like, yes, but you're down there for a reason. And if Gray's one of your better players when he's not having the best season, it shows where you're at.
I think it's going to be very, very tough for Everton. Let's look at their remaining fixtures. It's a very tough one looking at it. They've got Manchester United, then Leicester, then Liverpool, then Chelsea again, and then Watford, which is going to be a massive game as well. Then Brentford, who are looking good, Crystal Palace, who are also looking good, and finally they've got Arsenal. Like, that is like the nightmare scenario. How many points do you think they'll get off of that, Joe?
You're probably looking, if they're lucky, 6 points. On paper, if they're lucky, 6 points.
Yeah, and now, so 6 points, and they're 1 point above Burnley at the moment. Let's look at Burnley's remaining fixtures. So they've got Norwich, that could be winnable. West Ham, Southampton, Wolves. They've got Watford again. Then they've got Villa, Tottenham, Villa again. They're playing a lot of games twice. And Newcastle. How many points do you get from that, Joe?
The thing is, you look at the comparison between the two lists, and all you're seeing is people, teams fighting the top 4, or the Premier League even that Everton are playing. And then you look at, and I'm not saying Burnley are playing teams in and around them, but they are kind of even bottom half. I mean, to be honest, this season you look at, everyone's sort of looking at games that Everton could win. Yeah, you possibly looking the one at home against Leicester, who haven't got anything to play for now. Possibly is one that everyone's marking down as a Leicester win, but I'm confident if I'm an Everton fan, they can get something out of that game. obviously they're playing. I think they're playing Watford, aren't they? At some point. No, sorry. Yeah, they are playing Watford at some point, I think. But I don't feel confident. Whereas I look at that Burnley list and you look at teams like they're playing, even Villa, they've been hot and cold. West Ham, are a good side, obviously been fighting for Europe this season, but are beatable on the day. Wolves, again, you would say against Burnley, could be beatable on the day. Southampton, beatable on the day. Obviously Norwich, you actually probably fancy Burnley in that one this weekend.
Yeah. So if you to put money on anyone, it will be for Burnley to stay up. If you're comparing them and
honestly, I'd honestly say
Everton, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the Everton have got one of the worst sort of run-ins of any team in the league. This, and that's not where you want to be when you can't pick up wins.
Yeah, I think it's scary times. And if you are an Everton fan, let me know, or a Burnley fan, in fact, let me know your thoughts. Can you survive? Who do you think is going to be key for you? Let us know, because we would love to hear it, wouldn't we, Joe?
Yeah, we would. We would.
So moving on to from one side of the table all the way up to the other, of course, it's going to finish first in the Premier League. So big game coming up. Massive game. It could have huge implications for both teams. Liverpool versus Manchester City. Now, at the moment, Man City are 1 point ahead, but Liverpool have all the momentum and all the goal difference. They've got 5 points better off goal difference. How do you see this game going on, Joe?
I think it's a weird one for me because I was actually speaking to my dad about it earlier. We had quite an in-depth conversation about it, and I preference it as this. I think it's a game that Liverpool have to win. I'm not saying it's a game that Man City can afford to lose, but I don't think the title race is over if Man City lose this game. And the reason I say that is because you look again at the fixture list. I think Liverpool have got the slightly harder running. And I honestly don't see, everyone's saying it as in like, I don't see Liverpool or Man City winning every single game after this one. I think there will be dropped points somewhere for both teams. I don't think both teams have got it in them this season to do what they did a couple of seasons ago, which is go toe for toe. I might be completely wrong because we know these teams are capable of doing that. But I'm not saying it can't happen. But if I was a betting man, I'd say that there's probably going to be points dropped where we don't think they're going to be dropped at some point.
Yeah, it's always a way, isn't it? It's when you take your eye off the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and I said this to him. I'm going to ask you the same question, Will, but if just answering your question in terms of where do you see it going in terms of this game, I would like Liverpool to win it. I think Man City are going to win it, and that's how I think the title's going to go. Again, I would like Liverpool to win it, but I think Man City are just going to have enough.
Yeah,
I think they're so close.
As both teams are unbelievable, by the way. Like they're both two of the best teams in the world. Let's put it like that.
If not the best, I think these two teams for me, I'd put money on them both being in the Champions League final because it's going that way.
Yeah, 100%. And they're both on both sides of the draw, so it could happen as well.
Yeah. I think it's only right because when they're the reason people are looking at this league at the moment and going, this is the best league in the world, because you've got two teams that are just toe for toe. If you matched up their first 11, I think obviously Man City probably have slightly more depth than Liverpool, but Liverpool have definitely strengthened in that area with the signing of Diaz and a few other players. I think
100%.
I think there's both so good teams, but I think Man City for the Premier League this season, not for anything else. For the Premier League, I'd just take Man City if you were to twist my arm.
Would you? I actually think Liverpool have all the momentum. I think if anyone were to win it, I don't know if you want to put a bet on here, Joe. We don't have to.
Well, to be honest, I'm happy to go double or quits because I said Man City at the start of the season. Who did you take?
And I said Chelsea.
Yeah. So I think you were a big Lukaku fanboy at the start, if you remember.
So yeah, edge Liverpool, and you're going to edge Man City. So take of that of what you will.
I want Liverpool to win the title. Just saying, I want Liverpool to win the title. I'd rather live
different. I'm more indifferent. I would like Man City to win it just because I like the way we play football, but I also love the way Liverpool play football, and I don't know. I just enjoy watching both sides. Let's be real.
They're both quality sides, aren't they? They're both.
We are very lucky to be having to watch them week on week.
Yeah, no, we are for sure.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna pass it over to you, Joe. So, what's the next port of call?
The next port of call. Are you talking about Joe Ass Will Tells?
If you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it. So obviously we've already mentioned a couple of games there. We're going to be going through the podcast a little bit more speedily, with the fact that we're just going to be naming the naming and sort of just with the key points and stuff. So that's that for today. The Joe Ask Will Tells question for today will be about Nottingham Forest.
Yes, again.
Now, obviously, this is more preference towards the teams that we support. But how are you feeling, Will, for a start? This isn't a question, but this is just your time on the platform to just get your kind of thoughts across. How are you feeling? Are you feeling nervous? Feeling excited? Because there's undoubtedly Forest's best run of form and the best way they're playing for.
Yeah, from top to bottom, I've never felt this excited watching Forest in my lifetime since I've been watching Forest from the age of 6 or 7. I can't remember exactly when it was. But honestly, the under 18s have just reached the FA Youth Cup final, and we're playing Manchester United, having beaten Chelsea, which is a fantastic achievement. And it just shows that the whole ethos of what's going through the club at the moment. The under 23s are doing well, and of course the first team, they just revitalised. Since Steve Cooper's been in charge of the last 30 games, I've talked to you this before we started. We've got 60 points from that time, and that's automatic promotion form. Our match against Coventry we just played, you alluded to earlier when I missed the Burnley Everton match, which is, but we still won. We still won 2-0 against a decent Coventry side, which are hard to break down. They weren't in easy place to play, and the doors are slightly ajar. I wrote this stat down, like on the stats what I saw, got a 9% chance of making automatic promotion places, which is crazy. If you start at the start of the season, we were favourites to get relegated after the first 5 games. We only had 1 point.
9% personally, just on how I'm feeling about the situation. I know, you've probably been surprised. I give you a lot of banter about Forest and stuff, but you know that I like watching Forest, and I've actually got no bad feelings towards Forest. If I'm going to be completely honest, I quite like to, I'm from Nottingham, so I always like to see how they get on and stuff. Plus, they're a local derby with us, even though you guys don't even see us as a team. But
quite rightly.
That's besides the point. Anyway. I think obviously just the way Forest are playing at the moment. I watched the second half against Blackpool. They were 3-0 in the first half, but the football they're playing and just how Steve Cooper's gone. Obviously, they beat Leicester 4-1 in the FA Cup. They beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. They beat some really good teams, and that wasn't because. And I'm now starting to believe that it wasn't because they were playing at just at Premiership level for those 2 games. You watch Forest. I'm talking to everyone out there who's listening to the podcast. You watch Forest, and this is me as a neutral, as a Leicester fan as well. They're just playing some fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
I'd honestly be excited, and I am excited for our Forest fans to see where they can go. The question, So this is
go on, Jay.
Is if they make the playoffs, because we kind of had this conversation before, and if they make the playoffs, are you worried that that will feed into the kind of the mantra of or because we're the best team that should win it? Because I think you are the best team in there at the moment on current form. If you get the playoffs, are you worried that you won't get promoted? Are you thinking that the automatic promotion spots, obviously it's the easiest way to go up, but do you really feel like you can carry that momentum into them? And also worry if you're not going to get it.
Normally, because Forest's history with the playoffs, doesn't go very well. But this is a new revitalised Forest. My only worry is that if we do get to the playoffs and not automatics, which I'm hoping, and if we play Middlesbrough, we'll be without Spence. Now, when we played them a few months ago, we were without Spence, and we just didn't have that edge so much. So that's the one thing. What worries me is one team I won't want to play in there is Middlesbrough if they do get the playoffs, because at the moment they're outside.
Take your top fullbacks off you, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think Forest have all the momentum at the moment, and if we win our remaining games, I honestly believe we'll secure the automatics, because we're only 8 points off at the moment, and we still have to play Bournemouth, so that could be cut down to 5 points, and then etc. etc. Bournemouth have got a really tough run in, so you never know, Joe, do you?
Well, I mean, to be honest, you look at the other night. There was a 6-point swing.
Yeah.
6-point swing in terms of the fact that you won 2-0 and obviously Bournemouth lost 2-0. If Bournemouth had won their game, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Because I think 11 points with 8 games would probably be too far. But I just Bournemouth have been kind of dropping points here and there, and I don't think they're going to win 5 out of their last 8, which is what they need. If you win all your games this is, which I think is a possibility, you're the best team in the Championship on current form at the moment.
But we are playing Fulham in that.
Yeah, but why? You're playing without fear, and I honestly think you're aesthetically at the moment you're the best team to watch, which is great. I can't believe I'm saying that.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? What makes me laugh so much is that 2 games after Steve Cooper got appointed, we were like doing really well. We actually won a few games, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited. And Joe was like, you were like, Joe, oh, it's just gonna be the new manager, but don't get too excited. When I was like, but it just kept going and going. I was like, Joe, can I get excited now?
Yeah. I mean? Yeah, I mean to be honest, I mean for me, the only reason I probably wouldn't want Forest to do that well is because obviously I like the banter. I like the fact that you've been a bit of a banter club now for our duration in the Premier League, to be fair. Up until this year. But I think I just look at the kind of the amount of fans that went to the Leicester game. I look at the amount of fans that went to the Arsenal game. But I look at your fan base on a general basis, Tuesday nights and stuff, and the amount of fans you get to games.
Sold out.
Your fan base is you're a big historic club, and it'd be nice to. I'd rather have, and no disrespect to Burnley, by the way, any Burnley fans listening, but I'd rather have somebody like Nottingham Forest in the league, another team from the region as well, competing, because there's not as a region, kind of East Midlands. I mean, you get the Midlands teams, and we never get mentioned with the Midlands teams, really, do we? Either it's always East Midlands and Midlands teams, or West Midlands. West Midlands teams seem to get the tag of Midlands, and we get pushed to one side, don't we, a lot of the time. But no, it'd be nice to have another team in the Premier League from the East Midlands, and competing at that level.
Honestly, I tweeted it from my personal account, like, if Forest get promoted, whether it's in playoffs or automatically, this city's gonna not stop partying for the next like months. I swear to God, because Nottingham has been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, it has. I mean, the only thing is obviously still a long way to go in the season.
No, I know. Don't worry. I'm not getting ahead of myself too much, I promise.
Anything can happen with injury. Who you play in the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, because I mean, football's a funny game. I mean, you're flying at the moment, but anything can happen, can't it? And I don't mean that horribly. I'm just saying it's just take it one game at a time. But you really are in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, and Joe, I got a question for you. If Forest win promotion, do you think Stu Keeper will win Manager of the Year?
Well, he should do. There's no other manager that comes close if you win automatic promotion.
Do you think he'll be highly considered if he just got to the playoffs?
Well, no, you have to, because you had 1 point after 7 games.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
teams has ever finished higher than 12th place after starting the season that badly.
well,
We're starting over 100 years.
and I don't mean to kind of sort of. I think there was a season when Sunderland kind of lost the first 5 games or something like that, and then reached automatic promotion. Because it was when Roy Keane came in for Sunderland and got them promoted, and I think there was also something to do with Mick McCarthy, but I think that was back in sort of like in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, maybe sort of mid to late 2000s. Actually thinking about it, but yeah, I think if Forest do this, it'll be a massive achievement. Just going on to the Championship, just briefly, just asking you another question. We might as well talk about the other team in the region. Do you think it's a push too far for Derby?
I keep toing and froing. I think 9-point deficit from 6 games might be a stretch too far. We'll have to win all of them. But we'll have to win almost every game. I think they can afford 2 draws in there, maybe 1 draw. But I think it might be a bit hard because Reading are also in a bit of form now, aren't they? So
Reading will at least get 2 wins out of the last 6 games.
yeah.
I think what didn't do Derby a favour, and I think it was the final nail in the coffin, if I'm going to be completely honest, for Derby in terms of getting relegated, which they've done really well, to be honest, to even have a chance. But especially with the transfer embargo and stuff. But I think with the fact that Reading were playing their game in hand against Stoke, and they needed Stoke to do them a favour, and they really didn't. Obviously, Reading won 2-1 the other night. And I just think Paul Ince has got them playing a bit of form in terms of down at the bottom. So I just think it is going to be a push too far. I think Barnsley are gone as well. So I think the bottom 3 will stay the same. Speaking of bottom 3 going back up to the Premier League, do you think the bottom 3 are going to stay the same? Do you think Everton are going to fall back in there just quickly?
I think Everton are going to fall back in there. I think it was going to be Everton, Watford, and Norwich to go down.
I agree with that, but I'm gonna stick with my prediction, because actually my prediction at the moment for the teams that I said were going to go down, because I was having a look on our Instagram wheel the other day, and the teams that I said were going to go down are all in the right positions at the moment. So I'm going to, with my prediction, I obviously didn't have Everton anywhere near the relegation zone with my prediction.
No one did they?
Yeah, my bottom 3 prediction at the moment is correct.
Oh, you love to see it. So if you're right, you're going to earn some brownie points in there. But if you have disagree with anything we've spoken about today, don't forget to write it in the comments below. We'll love to hear your feedback, won't we, Joe? Make sure you follow us on all our socials, all our links down below. And yeah, thanks very much, Joe. Anything else to add?
No. See you next week, and we'll be talking about this week's games, and obviously probably at the top of the show will be what happens in the showdown between Liverpool and Man City, I should believe.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. So, yeah, we'll see you next week, Joe, and we'll